Hey, what's going on, guys? Trev back again here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a music-related video. This one's going to be talking about one of my favorite bands of all time, which is Linkin Park. So if you don't know, they have a new CD that just hit last week called Living Things. That's been released. The single for it so far that's been released is Burn It Down. It's doing pretty well in the alternative charts. Last time I checked, in my city at least, it's #1, and I'm pretty sure it's doing pretty well in the billboards. Now, you can't always expect, their type of music to get into, the top slot in the billboards. Usually it's filled by, other types of stuff for the most part, especially a band that started out as primarily an alternative band. I don't know what genre you want to put Linkin Park in nowadays. Are they still alternative? Have they switched over to sort of like pop music, or like electronica? I mean, they have so many different styles that they incorporate into their music. So in this video, I'm pretty much going to be talking about their new album, going to be reviewing it, and discussing what I think about Linkin Park. So ever since pretty much Meteora, their three recent albums that they've released have been, I don't know, I think they've been okay. I thought they were all right. Minutes to Midnight, it was a little bit of a disappointment. I was expecting something along the lines of Hybrid Theory or Meteora, but they went, of course, in a new direction. After that, they had A Thousand Suns in 2010, which was, again, a little lackluster. I kind of felt that that one was actually maybe a little bit weaker than Minutes to Midnight was, actually, with, of course, my favorite being Hybrid Theory and Meteora as, my favorite albums. Hybrid Theory would be my favorite Linkin Park album ever. Now we have Living Things, which, I think in terms of it being an album on its own, it's pretty damn good. I do like it. I think there's some good songs on it. Burn It Down is an amazing song. Really amazing. And totally different from, where they started out in, being alternative rock. Now, adding in that electronic, sort of even kind of becoming like electronic rock, but like popular. Like that type of rock really is not mainstream. That's really underground. That's really not very popularized these days. So, bringing in something new that we haven't really heard before is, always cool. And Linkin Park's always trying to, do new things and go that direction, a different direction. So that's pretty much their first single, Burn It Down. Next one's going to be I'll Be Gone. Apparently, going to be July 26th. That one's going to be hitting. So the track list, I'll just go through real quick. The first one's called Lost in Echo, which I think is a pretty good song. In My Remains, second track, is okay. Burn It Down, I think, is probably, it's probably the best track on this album. Lies, Greed, Misery, I actually like a lot. I think it's a song that, here and there it feels a little bit unpolished, but I think that it really tries to get back to that old Linkin Park sound that they used to have way back in the Hybrid Theory Meteora days, where they had that angst that, like, I don't want to say the teenage angst, but, they had that kind of angry, angry lyrics, or just, like angry tones, all that kind of stuff coming together to really make sort of like a really angry song, which I like. I like angry songs too. They're good to work out to, and if you're kind of angry, sometimes you might want to listen to an angry song, so it works pretty good. So that's probably my second favorite track on the album is Lies, Greed, Misery, and Burn It Down is probably my favorite. I'll Be Gone, the next track, I think is, it's okay. Number 6 is Castle of Glass, which is, I like it. It's really, got that electronic, sort of like electronic, and there's like folk mixed in, and all kinds of different, genres in it, and it does sound pretty cool. Victimize, the next one. I don't know how I feel about Victimize. It's kind of that old Linkin Park style where, you've got them, you've got Chester, and he's doing those, heavy, like, shouting and all that kind of stuff. It's okay. I think it's pretty good, but it's missing. The thing that's weird about the way they're doing it now is that it's missing that underlying rock track, and it's been a while since they've had that underlying, rock, heavy rock in their songs. And I think for songs like Victimized, you want to have that there. If you're having a song that's really going to be angry and that kind of stuff, the best way to do that would be to have that sort of like alternative underlying, rock music there. Otherwise, if it's too light or it's too poppy, kind of, a lot of dance elements mixed in, to me it comes across as being, I know they're trying to do things new, but to me it just doesn't mix. It's kind of like, if they had that rock track there and they've got the angry, lyrics and that kind of stuff and Chester shouting, it's like peanut butter and jelly. It just goes together. It just goes together just right. But if you take, peanut butter and then you mix it with bananas, for example, peanut butter banana sandwich. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, but some people like, like it's an old thing people used to do. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches. My dad showed me one. He's like, when I was younger, he made me a peanut butter and banana sandwich. And I was like, yeah, some people are going to like that. But we all love peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly just works every time. Peanut butter and banana, I don't know, some people like it, but for me personally, in terms of what am I going to make when I want a sandwich, you got to go with peanut butter and jelly. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's Victimized. Number 8, Roads Untraveled is, one of their type of, again, just really new feeling songs that it's got a lot of the softer elements that they've adding in tranquility and all these different things that they never really used to have in their first 2 albums that they've added in the last 2 or the last 3. And I don't know, I'm kind of torn on it. I don't know if I really like it. I don't know if I don't like it. It's kind of hard for you on one part of the album to go from Victimized, where you got Chester screaming, and then in another part you have some really soft tranquil tones and things like that, or just you don't have that underlying rock track there that I think suits Linkin Park. I think Linkin Park, as much as they've tried to get away from that kind of sound, they maybe should have analyzed, are we making, see, here's the difference. Are they making music for themselves, or are they making music for their fans? Because, and I'm not just talking new fans, I'm talking Linkin Park fans that have been listening to them since Hybrid Theory. And I think if you analyze that and you think about it for a minute, they're making music that they like. They're making music for themselves. And as a producer, it's kind of suicide to make things that you like and do it for yourself versus doing it for your customers and doing it, being a producer, targeting your audience. Now, you should enjoy what you're doing too, but there's a fine line between making something for yourself that you'd like and making something that people are going to like. So they may love this album. To Shinoda and the rest of the guys, they may think that this is the best album they've ever done. But in terms of people out there, in terms of what people want to hear and what people like, they're ignoring the market for the most part. They're doing things that really, people are not into. Guys that like rap and like rock, guys that like rock and heavy things like that, generally, okay, some of them will like rap, and if you bring in the rap elements, you do it right, it'll, people will like it. And that worked for them. But to bring in other elements, like a lot of this tranquil music and that kind of stuff, I don't know, man. To me, it just doesn't mix right. And there's a lot of that in this album, a lot of things that to me just don't sound fluid and they don't mix right with Linkin Park. And again, most of the time it just comes back to that missing, that underlying rock track that you'd love to have there. Because without it, songs like Victimized and that kind of stuff, they just feel unfinished. They feel like partial. You know what I mean? Like it's partially done. I don't want to say amateurish because that would be an insult. We're talking about Linkin Park here. I'm not going to be insulting Linkin Park. But, a lot of times it just doesn't feel right. So this is Victimized definitely is one of those tracks. Roads Untraveled is another one. The next track, Skin to Bone, I like. I think it's pretty good. Number 10, Until It Breaks. Also a decent track. Number 11 is sort of just a quick, short track, instrumental type thing. And number 12, Powerless, is pretty good. Again, really, really, softer type of track. So overall, the direction Linkin Park's gone in the last 3 albums. Where does this one stack up versus, in terms of all of their albums that they made, all 5? My favorite is Hybrid Theory, probably always will be. Second favorite, Meteora, probably always will be. Third favorite would be Minutes to Midnight, and then Living Things, this new album. And so that'd be number 4, and then number 5 would be 1,000 Suns. So actually, this is, not one of my more favorite Linkin Park albums. This is probably my 4th, 4th on the list for me in terms of which I like the best. I would still definitely rather go and put Hybrid Theory on repeat on my MP3 player, whatever, if I'm going for a run or working out or whatever. and listen to that probably 3 to 4 times rather than listening to this album. And this album's not bad. Like it's not horrible. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 overall. It's not terrible, but I think a lot of us fans that used to love Linkin Park, we should see them get back to that old sound that they used to have. And I think the reason for that is because they switched producers. They switched producers from Don Gillmore, who produced the first 2 albums, to Rick Rubin, who's given them more creative control and more freedom. And as a result, I think they've kind of strayed in a new direction, gotten further away from pure rock, and gotten more into these electronic and folk and all kinds of different sounds they're mixing in. That they would have never been able to do if they would have stuck to that other formula they had before. So in a way, I can understand why they wanted to go that route. But again, I think they have to really decide. Linkin Park needs to make the decision. Are we making this CD for ourselves, or are we making it for our fans? Because, they're rich, obviously, at this point. They don't need the money. So, it sounds to me like they're sort of making music that they love, but they're not necessarily making music that we love. And they may feel more fulfilled that way, doing it this way and making music that they love and that they want to hear and trying to be genre-defining. But overall, I just think personally that, what made them famous and what made them really, really popular with those first 2 albums, they should just try to go back to that formula. And a lot of times, like I've heard a lot of interviews where they're saying this is the closest one to Hybrid Theory or Meteora and this kind of stuff. This isn't really close to those at all. Not at all. Because, again, the underlying rock track is not really there. It's just, a lot of it is even closer in a lot of ways, I feel, to like pop music now. And that I'm definitely not a fan of. So, is this a bad album? No, it's a good album. I think that Burn It Down is an awesome song. Lies, Greed, Misery is a great song. Castle of Glass is pretty good. Skin to Bone is good. So, it's got some good songs on it. It's just that I think that if they would have, tried to bring it closer, like actually they say they did, but from what I see, they didn't. If they tried to actually make it closer to the sound they had in Hybrid Theory and Meteora, which wouldn't be that hard to do, not at all. They could do it, very easily. I think most of their fans would love this album a lot more. And it just, to me, feels like they're trying to be different, genre defining, almost for the sake of just being different, of just saying we don't want to be in a category. We want to be able to do anything. And yeah, you can do anything, but then the problem with that becomes, what people are who is going to buy your album? Because the guys who love rock, they're probably not going to buy your album because it's got all this tranquility and it's all this other stuff and it's softer stuff in it, and they don't like that. They're not going to work out to that. Guys that, love dance music and electronic and all that stuff, they're probably not going to buy your album either. Maybe because Burn It Down is a great single, they would. But I just think that, they're trying to do too many different things in the same album, and it comes across as a little messy and a little discombobulated and not concentrated, and it seems like, what direction they were trying to take this in and what exactly they're trying to do with it seems lost because it's got so many different elements to it and everything sounds so different. Different songs sound so completely different that, it just feels discombobulated. It doesn't feel well organized, and it doesn't feel like it knows what it is. This album, as well as the last 2, in a lot of ways, really just to me feel like they've kind of, they're trying to be different for the sake of being different, and at the same time they've lost that sense of who they are, and it seems to me like they're trying to find it, but it's not really working because they're just being different for the sake of being different. That's my opinion on it. So I'll give this album a 6 out of 10. I think it's good. I can recommend it to most people if you like Linkin Park. Burn It Down is an awesome song. Really awesome. But a lot of the rest of them, I'm not feeling too much. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. We'll see you for the next one. Later. Peace.